Are you tired of being crushed by the burden of modern day life? Has your bright spirit faded before an ever-growing emptiness? Have you ever wished for an ailing grandfather who had an existential crisis, dropped everything, and bought a piece of remote farmland he would one day will to you? If that sounds like you, then you're in luck. I have the perfect game for you, Stardew Valley. And for just $14.99, you too can live out your dream of quitting your soul-crushing desk job and escape to a simpler life of farming and friendship. Call now to make this exclusive offer your own. All kidding aside, most of us don't have the luxury to quit our job and move to a farm we inherited from our grandfather, who presumably passed away from sleeping on the world's least comfortable bed. I mean, look at it. It looks like Grandpa is sleeping on a folding table. Instead, we have to live vicariously through our Stardew Valley characters who freed themselves from the shackles of a 9-to-5 job to take control of their life, and ultimately, their time. This newfound freedom, however, doesn't mean you won't have things to do when you arrive at your farm in Pelican Town. You'll see the farm has been neglected for some time now, and you'll need to spend your days farming, fishing, mining, foraging, and building relationships to get it back up and running. The only downside is, there's only so much time in a day to do these activities. Best case scenario, a full day in Stardew Valley lasts about 14 real-world minutes, which may sound like a lot of time, but when you break it down, one in-game hour is equivalent to 42 seconds. There just isn't enough time in the day to do all of the activities you want to get done, and sometimes even our real lives can feel that way too. So, how do you make the most out of your limited time? Well, that, my friends, comes down to time management. This is what I learned playing Stardew Valley. Your first day in Stardew Valley may feel a bit overwhelming, because the game just plops you onto the farm, gives you a few starter seeds, and glues a literal ticking clock to your screen to let you know that time will play an essential role in your gameplay experience. Most of what you do in Stardew Valley is dictated by the in-game clock. So, if you don't keep track of time, you're gonna struggle to manage all the activities available to you. Time management is the ability to productively plan and organize how you split your time between various activities. Basically, it's trying to make the most out of the time you have, and if done well, it should increase your overall effectiveness in a given time frame. And no game needs that more than Stardew Valley. Look, I know Stardew Valley isn't designed to be a stressful time management simulator, and I'm not suggesting it should be. It's a beautiful slice of life game where you can spend your day relaxing by farming and fishing, and it's totally okay to have days where you just kind of meander around. Not every day needs to be maximized or scheduled, but I will argue that the game is more fun when you do manage your time well. Remember, there are a ton of things to do in a given day. Farming, building relationships, mining, combat, fishing, foraging, cooking, and the in-game clock is not forgiving enough to let you make substantial progress on any of these. My goal with talking about time management isn't to turn you into a robot, just to help you make the most out of your day in both Stardew Valley and your own life. In order to do that, we need to talk about my 4 P's of time management: plan, prioritize, produce, and protect. Let's start with plan. It's hard to plan how you're going to manage your time well if you don't even know what you're trying to accomplish. So the first thing you need to do to improve your time management is plan what your short-term and long-term goals are. The obvious difference between short-term and long-term goals is the length of time needed to complete them. But there are some other nuances that differentiate the two. The essential question to ask yourself when making long-term goals is, where do I want to be in 3 to 5 years? That time frame isn't rigid, so don't get too caught up on it. Just know that long-term goals are future-focused and usually require a bit more planning compared to short-term goals. In the case of Stardew Valley, 1 in-game year is a pretty good time frame to use when determining your long-term goals. Think of things like restoring the community center or getting to the bottom of the mines as examples of long-term goals, since they will take time, effort, and multiple seasons before you can complete them. Sometimes, thinking 3 to 5 years into the future can feel extremely daunting. So one of the best things to help get rid of that feeling is to break long-term goals down into multiple short-term goals. For example, if you want to get to the 120th floor of the mines, start with a short-term goal of getting to the 20th floor. If you're trying to fix the community center, make a short-term goal of submitting all of the crop bundles before the end of the season. By the time you break down your long-term goals into short-term goals, you're gonna have a lot to accomplish. Which begs the question, Where do you even start? That's where the second P, prioritize, comes in. Prioritization is ranking the things you need to get done by their importance. It's intended to help you accomplish the most important things first, instead of wandering aimlessly around Pelican Town. It's okay to wander around sometimes, but if you don't prioritize what you need to get done, you're going to waste the precious little time you have in a day and may not achieve your long-term goals. There are many factors that impact how you may prioritize your time, and they can generally be categorized as either internal or external influences. Internal influences are based on your personal perception of what has the most value, impact, or even urgency. So think back to those goals we talked about. If getting to the 20th floor of the mines was important to you, and you wanted to get it done quickly, then you would probably rank it at or near the top of your priority list. While something like clearing the excess brush from your farm would probably be lower on your list. Knowing what is personally important to you is critical for prioritization. But no matter what your internal priorities are, there will always be factors outside of your control that will affect your priorities. These are what we refer to as external influences. In Stardew Valley's case, think of things like shops and the weather. You literally have no control over them, but they need to be considered as you prioritize. Most shops don't even open until 9 a.m. and are closed on some random weekdays, so even if you wanted to buy seeds from Pierre first thing in the morning, you can't, because his store is closed. And when winter comes around, no matter how high you prioritize growing crops, it just isn't going to happen, because the ground is frozen over. These external influences can complicate your prioritization in Stardew Valley, but identifying and acknowledging their existence is a part of the prioritization process. Once you have a decent idea of the internal and external influences that exist, it's time to make your prioritized list of activities by comparing the items against one another. I highly recommend using the prioritization worksheet from the book What Color is Your Parachute? Without going too deep into the worksheet itself, it's a great tool that essentially assigns point values to your priorities so you know what order to pursue them in. You don't have to use it for everything, but it can be used to prioritize short and long-term goals in your own life and even Stardew Valley. I'll put a link in the comments for any of you that are interested. That brings us to our final two P's, produce and protect. I'd like to talk about produce and protect together because if you want to produce well, you need to protect your time. Let's get this out of the way first. It's produce, not produce. I know that may be a bit confusing since we're referencing a farming simulator, but I'm not talking about green beans or bell peppers. I'm talking about putting your prioritized plan into action and getting things done. Which sounds simple enough to do, but the main thing to consider in producing is to understand how much energy you actually have. Those of you who've played Stardew Valley are probably intimately familiar with the energy bar. You start the game with a limited amount of energy that dictates how much you can accomplish in a given day. That's why prioritization is critical for producing, because if you don't, you're going to waste your time and energy doing things that don't move you towards completing your goals. If you spend all morning clearing out trees on your farm, you're going to be out of energy by 9 a.m., which doesn't leave you any energy to mine to the 20th floor. And if you try to push through, your character will literally pass out. Understanding that you only have a limited amount of energy to help you produce shows the necessity to use it efficiently, and you won't be able to do that if you can't protect your time and energy from being wasted. One of the best ways to protect your time is to just say no. Now in the game, you can't literally say no to someone, but if you get a letter in the mail asking you to bring them a melon from your farm, just know that you don't have to do it. You can always allow time for some impromptu activities in your day, especially since they don't need to be scheduled minute by minute. But you'll have to ask yourself if the extra gold for growing and delivering a melon is worth the time you would have spent mining. If so, that's fine. Just make sure you protect yourself from constant distractions by saying no to the right things. It will be tough to say no sometimes, but protecting your time allows you to manage your energy so you can accomplish the goals you actually want to get done. As you think about what you want to accomplish in your life, whether it's personal or professional, time management is the key to getting it done, and done well. Just remember the 4 P's of time management to point you in the right direction. Plan your short and long-term goals, prioritize them by their importance, use your energy to produce, and finally, protect your time by saying no to distractions. If you follow the 4 P's, you'll be on a great path to accomplishing your goals and mastering time management. And hey, if you do well enough, you should be able to afford a better bed than your virtual grandpa. Just saying. And that's it. Which of the 4 P's of time management resonated with you the most? Also, if you haven't checked out the Stardew Valley wiki, you totally should. There's a ton of information on there that help make Generic & Farm a thriving enterprise of produce production. See what I did there? If you like what you saw today, I'd love for you to subscribe. See you later.